Coming to you from the greatest city in the world, this is the #1 showbiz podcast. It's Talk for Two. Here's your host, Matt Bailey.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome in everybody to another episode of Talk for Two. Hope you are all enjoying your summer. And thank you to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Bound Network. You can find amazing entertainment products at axtel.com and podcasts of every genre at tangentboundnetwork.com. I swear, Mark Bugner has over 100 podcasts. So please, if you like what we're doing, go over, check out tangentboundnetwork.com. And of course, Steve Axtel is amazing and creative and very, very original over at axtel.com. The British invasion of Talk for Two continues today. On our last episode, we had America's Got Talent winner Paul Zerdin. This week, we have Andy Nyman. Nyman is a jack of all trades, character actor, writer, and even magician and magic creator / consultant. He has appeared on a variety of television shows, from thrillers like Dead Set and Peaky Blinders to animated projects like Chuggington and the mega hit Despicable Me spinoff, Minions. A lot of you may know Nyman for his work with Derren Brown. Brown, a mentalist, is one of the UK's most popular entertainers. Andy has written and or directed several of Brown's live stage shows and television specials. Mr. Nyman's most recent project is the film adaptation of his long-running play, Ghost Stories. Co-written with Jeremy Dyson and starring Nyman along with Sherlock's Martin Freeman, the project is expected next year, according to his IMDb page. Here now to tell us about life as a freelancer, our interview with Andy Nyman. Andy Nyman, welcome to Talk for Two. How are you today, sir?
I am very good, Matt. Thank you so much for asking me to do this interview.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do it. You are coming to us from where, please tell us? This is great.
From sunny London, England.
Sunny London, England.
Where the sun always shines.
Hey, wait a minute. I believe you because I think that you actually sent some of that London weather our way. We've been having a very, very cold couple of weeks here.
That's exactly right. It's a swap that we've worked out. I say it's good. We're going to keep the sun for about another 3 months.
Yes. And then we get it back just in time. Well, let's get started here. This is going to be fun. Actor, writer, director, magician, creator, anything you don't do, Andy.
Well, I think so much of the freelance disease is born of, what else can I do? What else can I do to make sure that we're earning a crust? Mm-hmm. And so much of being a freelancer is fear-driven. Yeah,
interesting. Fear.
But in answer to the question, there's loads I don't do. My perception of myself is kind of lazy. So. Yeah.
Well, we'd find that I think you have an IMDb list a mile long of just credits. I mean, and it is fear, isn't it? Fear really is a great motivator.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't think that ever leaves, my primary career is that of an actor. Mm-hmm. And then everything else is the directing and writing. I love everything that I do. I'm very blessed that they all sort of work in different ways, but the freelance thing as an actor is you're constantly thinking, oh God, is this the last job I ever do? Yeah. Is this it? Am I going to get rumbled? Are they going to work out I'm not very good? That's every single job that finishes. You think, oh, well, it's been fun.
Yeah, that's how I am with these interviews. Are they going to work out that I'm just crazy? I think everybody that wants to be in this space has that. So I got to ask, how did you get into this space? How did you start out young as an actor, or how did you come to do it professionally?
I wanted to act from the moment I saw Jaws at the cinema. I'd always loved drama when I was at school. And was sort of lazy at school, did English and liked English, and that was sort of it. Everything else felt like work, which I didn't like. And then I saw Jaws at the cinema and saw Richard Dreyfuss up there, a sort of short, stocky, curly-haired, bespectacled Jew. And there was I in the audience, a short, stocky, curly-haired, bespectacled Jew, and thought, oh, my God, that's a real thing. You know, you don't have to be Robert Redford,
right,
as it was at that time, or Brad Pitt as it is now. You know, you don't have to be a beautiful specimen to fulfill your dream. And that really was a seminal moment for me, aside from the fact the movie itself had such an impact. So then I think I was already doing sort of drama youth club, but then I sort of took it more seriously and then did drama at high school and then did drama I went to move to London to drama school instead of university. I went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama and did that and left there. So I went there. I got in when I was 17, started at 18, graduated at 21, and then I've been acting ever since.
Yeah, I had something off of that, and now I lost it. So I apologize for the dead look in my eyes. We're doing this over Skype. But it's, I know what I was going to say. Some of the best parts go to the people that don't fit in those boxes, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed with a career of odd bods and misfits in some respects, you know, and I really do love that. I mean, that's one of the things about being sort of unconventional, or just a character. I mean, you know, I think all actors are character actors, even if they're the leads. You know, you're inhabiting a character, but, you know, traditionally a character actor, which I guess is what I am. And so I love the diversity of roles that I've got to play, and they truly are. You know, I look at, you know, the last year, and it goes from playing Winston Churchill in Peaky Blinders through to, you know, this absolute beast of a thug that I've just played in this movie called Bone in the Throat that will be coming out next year. That's on this Anthony Bourdain novel, and then, you know, a cop in this movie that came out last year called Automata, this Antonio Banderas movie, and so all sorts of different stuff. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. And I mean, you do a lot of voice work too. I mean, you do a lot of kids work too. From Minions, you were in Minions this last year.
Yeah, I was in Minions,
and they only credit you as additional voices. What all did you do?
Well, one of the key voices that I did was, I think that's being updated anyway, to Freddie Fishlips, which is the one of the weird. It's like a weird sort of creature from the Black Lagoon kind of guy. It has this kind of voice, you know. It has this gurgle. So I did him, and I did I think it was the hairdresser in it, and various other voices. That was a great fun job to do.
It is. It seems like it. And you also did back to, again, kid stuff, Chuggington and Shaun the Sheep. And then
Shaun the Sheep's actually Oscar nominated for best animation. Amazing. And again, they're sort of brilliant things because you're bringing stuff to life that you know, really, you're really enabling it. It's great. Very exciting thing to do.
Yeah, but the reason I bring this up first is because you mentioned Peaky Blinders, and of course, one of the first things I had here on my list was Dead Set in 2008. I mean, from kid shows to horror, is there one that you really, really prefer, or is it just all fun?
Well, it's all great fun. I mean, you know, the voiceovers lives in its own weird little bubble. And, you know, I do get quite a lot of tweets and stuff saying there's another animated series I do here called Sarah and Duck that's so sweet, and I play this character that's a bag in it, and it's very sweet. And I do get sort of tweets from people sort of, I had to rewatch, you know, just so your name in the credits, is that you doing that? You know, they can't quite equate me with those things. But again, I love the diversity of it. It really does truly mean that every week is completely different.
It is, and you talk about those tweets. Does being a character actor and being in so much make sort of, I would assume you get recognized sometimes. Does that make it a little weird? Do you ever get people that come up to you and go, "Do I know you from somewhere?" You know, does that ever happen?
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, I've always liked the fact I don't really get recognized that much, because I always, you know, I'm a pretty stocky little guy. I mean, I'm sort of 5'6", and I'm like a little cube. You know, my weight fluctuates a bit, and sometimes I'm borderline dumpy, and other times I'm stocky if I've lost weight. You know, I kind of, but I'm basically this. I'm sort of an unmistakable look, but I manage to lose myself in roles, and rarely get recognised. But when I do, it's very nice. It's very complimentary, and there is occasionally that thing. It happened the other day actually in our local corner shop, where the guy next to me in the queue went, "Are you Andy Nyman? Do you live round here?" I was like, "Yes, yeah, I've lived here 30 years." "Right, hello, nice to meet you." I mean, it's strange. It is strange, but it doesn't happen a huge amount. I quite like the anonymity of what I do.
That's wonderful. So let's get into some of these TV roles. I want to talk about Dead Set only because with Dead Set, something happened that you don't see too often, and it's that Big Brother sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, but reading about it, I couldn't have access to the series. A lot of those elements came from the real Big Brother, of which Dead Set sort of parodied.
Yeah.
And they were kind of making fun of themselves with that show.
It's really something. I mean, Charlie Brooker, who wrote it, is brilliant. I mean, the States, I think you've been getting Black Mirror. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a genius, Charlie. And I don't say that in that loose, "Oh my God, you're such a genius." I mean, he is a genius.
He is.
You know.
He is.
And the writing on the show was extraordinary. And what it played, it's sort of 6 parts, and it played every night of a week. Mm-hmm. And became quite a sort of event television. And what made it so interesting for an audience is it was shot. It wasn't exactly the Big Brother set, but they built what felt exactly like the set. And within it were some of the people who'd already been in the show.
Right.
And the woman who presented the show, who isn't an actress, she's just a presenter, was presenting the sort of the Dead Set version of it. So it was really shocking when this played, where suddenly this woman, Davina McCall, who's a big presenter, huge star here, suddenly, you know, her throat gets ripped out. You know, it really was like, holy shit. You know, it was really something. So it was a really special show to be part of. I was very proud of that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see it.
You should really track it down if you can. It's certainly out there online, and DVDs are available in the States. I think it's really, if you like genre stuff, you'd really get a kick out of it.
I love it. I love Black Mirrors too.
You'll love it.
I mean, I think so. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I mean, it predates Walking Dead as well. I mean, it was one of the first proper zombie TV shows, and it's so clever. It's so well done, and the violence is wicked.
Yeah, well, I just think the UK in general, and you could speak to this with your experience being in some of these pieces, just does that genre really, really well. I mean, I'm obsessed with Black Mirrors, and I'm obsessed with Sherlock. The British version of Thriller seems to be bar none the best, and like you said, it's because of the genius writing too.
Yeah, I mean, the writing is fantastic. We also just have there's just a different taste, isn't there? And there's a different way of doing things. And it's changing. You can see the change happening now with sort of Amazon Originals and Netflix. And, thankfully you're losing that thing. And HBO really, I guess, was the granddaddy of all that. You're losing that thing where you have to tell stories in 11-minute chunks so you can fit all the adverts in. That's sort of vanishing now, So I think that the writing that's coming out of America is just incredible.
It's interesting that you say that, because we had another writer on the show here earlier who writes for the American show How to Get Away with Murder, and he said that he kind of prefers the How to Get Away with Murder only does 15 episodes a year. American TV does about 22. He sort of prefers the British version of doing things, which is it's only 6 or 8 or 12. Makes it so much better.
Yeah. I mean, it's very odd. I mean, people love the box set mentality thing here, but no, I mean, it's very alien to us. Really, it's sort of 6 episodes and you're done.
Yeah, so 22 is kind of overkill.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah.
So, now, let me peruse my questions here. We kind of covered a lot of the first page here. Writing. How did you get started with the writing? If your primary career is, you said you wanted to be an actor, how'd you get behind the camera?
Yeah. Well, something we touched on right at the start of this interview is is imposter syndrome, and never was a psychological term more appropriate than that, because I think it's a real disease when you're a freelancer and an artist, because you're constantly doubting yourself and constantly thinking, ugh, I'm not capable of that, So I'd never thought of myself as a writer at all. Acting's one thing, and I'm comfortable in those shoes. You have your other doubts, but I'm very confident with that. And what had happened was, because of the magic, which is another big part of my life, I'd been working with and creating for quite some time. There's a truly brilliant performer who's a huge star here called Derren Brown. And I'd created with Derren the first 10 years of his TV show with him. So, and I say created, not written, because even though I was doing a lot of the scripting with Derren, it would be sort of improvised and discussed, and then Derren would go away and write it, and I'd give notes on that, and we'd work through it on our feet. Because it goes right back to me saying, when I was at school, I didn't really like to do anything that felt like work, and that was very much something that felt like work. And then I'd had an idea for a play, a horror play, called Ghost Stories. And my oldest friend is a brilliant writer, a guy called Jeremy Dyson, and we'd been best friends since we were 15. And I had this idea, and I phoned up Jeremy and said, look, I've got this great idea for a play. This is what it is. I think we should write it together. We'd been talking for 20 years about collaborating on stuff, and we'd just both been too busy with our families and our own careers. But this was a turning point, and we just said, yeah, let's do it. We naively went into it. And this wasn't like the creative stuff with Derren, whereby you're kind of talking and creating in that respect. This was proper writing, and this was the first time I'd actually properly opened up the screenwriting software and typed scene, interior, day. And then the action, and then the dialogue. So it was a little scary, but I do love collaborating. I've been blessed with 2 long-term collaborators. Derren I've worked with for 15 years, because after I finished doing the TV shows, I then continued. I write and direct the stage shows. So I write them with him. And in this last instance, with another brilliant guy called Andrew O'Connor, we wrote Derren's last stage show and directed it. But generally I've written and directed those. And then and so that's been a wonderful collaboration. And then with Jeremy, an even more sort of spectacular collaboration, really, because we've been best friends since we were 15. So there's a lifetime of nonsense and fun there.
You building your confidence? As how far along are you in the play? And
the play has had a remarkable life. The play has been a huge hit here. It was on in the West End. It had 2 13-month runs in the West End. Which is sort of unprecedented, really. It's now been on in Moscow, Toronto, Shanghai, Lima. It's currently touring Australia. It's already played the Sydney Opera House. And in October, we are shooting a movie of it, which Jeremy and I have written. We're directing, and I'm playing the lead role that I played in the West End.
And Martin Freeman's going to be in that as well.
Martin Freeman is in that. That takes us to your Sherlock love.
That's a big smile on your face. That you're so thrilled about that, it looks like.
Oh, my God. We did a film together about a year or so ago, a BBC film called The Eichmann Show, which is a remarkable story about the trial of Adolf Eichmann in Jerusalem. And it was the first ever televised trial, and it really set the template for how that was done, and it's a fascinating story. So Martin and I got to work together in that, and we'd met very briefly once, and sort of, obviously I knew of him because he's a huge star, and I was an admirer. But when we worked together, I just thought, God, he is just sensational. Mm-hmm. And will be perfect for this role. So Jeremy and I sent the script to his agent, and he loved it, which is great. So yeah, Martin is in that, and another brilliant actor called George McKay, who's in the film Pride. I don't know if you've seen that, but has done lots of work. He's a fantastic young actor. So yeah, fingers crossed, we start shooting in October. Are
you nervous about acting and directing in the same project?
No. Well, we did it in the stage show. Mm-hmm. Both Jeremy and I directed that, and I starred in it. And I mean, look, you're always nervous. It's always fear management. But the truth is, what's the worst that happens? We make a shitty movie and waste a few £1 million that people have given us. I mean, it's terrible, and I hope that isn't the case. But there's not a lot else you can do other than work really hard, prepare as best as you can, and enjoy the process.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, it's going to end up in the bargain bucket. Because you look through they don't really exist anymore now. It's sort of Netflix or what have you. Everything's on there because it's just content. So all you can do is aspire to make the best product you can, which is what we'll do.
That's wonderful. I do want to switch gears, get back to talk about Derren just a little bit. I have to ask you, I've been a fan of your work with him for a long time. Why won't you guys bring the stuff over here to the States? Is it a fear that it won't work, or just it's going so well in the UK?
Who said we're not?
Really? Oh my word. Are you teasing something right now? This is...
What's your next question?
When?
No, there are plans. There are plans to go to New York.
Really?
With a live show.
Wow, that's awesome.
So watch this space.
That's really cool.
And as much as people that are Derren fans will know, if you've seen him live, you just can't believe it. He's the most extraordinary, brilliant live performer. I mean, he's in a league of his own. And if you have never seen him, don't know who he is, and have never seen him live, it will blow your mind. It's extraordinary. It's such fun to do. It's such fun to create this material and watch him do it. And he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
And it's led you to release some products to the magic market as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was pre-Derren, really. I'd done a lot of that. I'd created a lot of magic that, again, part of it is trying to not have any boundaries.
Right.
And part of it is the freelance thing of, well, I might make a little bit of money off that, which means we'll be okay for a month. Mm-hmm. If I'm not acting.
So we talked about all of the great writing and acting and different things, but where did the love of magic itself start for you?
I loved magic when I was a kid. I really loved it. My uncle Harold, who's sadly no longer with us, when I was a kid, he used to do a magic trick when we went to his house in Manchester. And he honestly used to do this trick, and for my entire childhood, I would be excited to go and watch him do this. And what he would do is take a pack of cards, and you would shuffle them, would sit by. It had to be this one specific table they had in their front room, this coffee table, wooden coffee table. And you'd take a card, look at it, put it face down on the table. He wouldn't look. And he would feel under the table where the card was and tell you what colour the card was, whether it was black or red, just from feeling under the table. And sometimes you'd actually be able to tell you what the card was itself. So rather than just going, that's a black card, and you turn it over and it was. Sometimes he'd go, oh, that's a club, it's the 3 of clubs. Well, honestly, 9 years of going when I was a kid, it would be the first thing I'd say when I'd get there. Can you do the trick? And then he bought a magic set for me, which I sort of did, but I didn't really get into a huge amount. I didn't get into magic properly, aside from loving that memory of it, until I left drama school when I was 21. And Jeremy Dyson, who I wrote Ghost Stories with, has always done magic.
Yes, and the last question I have about this, and this is something I've just always personally wondered, reading your names in the credits of Derren's special, how do you walk the line between illusion and reality when you're creating together? I mean, I know that's kind of a lofty question, but, how much do you
It's not a lofty question. It's a really important question, Matt. And that's a question that we ask ourselves a lot. Where is the line? At what point is it okay to use magic and say it's not magic? At what point is it okay to use science but pretend it's magic? At what point is it okay to not use anything other than, that was lucky, and pretend it's science? Those questions constantly come up, and they're really important, and there isn't a black and white answer to that, and we don't have a rule book that says that's that or that's that, that crosses that line. It's every single instance is a new one that you have to think, is that all right to say that? Is that okay to do that? Do we want people to believe that, or do we want them to believe that? And they're really big questions.
Yeah, and were you involved? The one I was looking at, I was doing some research, was the Push to the Edge. Were you? But
No. The last TV that I did was the Russian route. The lottery prediction. So the controversial ones that I did were the bank heist, Russian roulette live. I'm sure there were others. The Would You Kill a Cat one. Yeah, I've been involved with quite a few, making the guy believe he was in a zombie shoot 'em up.
Yeah, so then just the follow-up to that is then, if you ever do come right up to the line and you catch flack, how do you justify it to people that might come at you and say, no, it wasn't cool, that was a little too much? What do you say to the people that get up in arms?
Well, it's an entertainment show.
Right.
I mean, he's not God.
Yeah.
It's not, it should make, we did one where there was, we made a woman believe she'd had a car crash, died in the car crash, and was now having an out-of-body near-death experience where she was in the car, as she was standing outside the car, frozen to the spot, looking at herself, dead in the car as an ambulance came round and the other guy. I mean, it's pretty on-the-edge stuff. But, if you go and see a film that's on the edge and controversial and upsetting, you don't go to the film writer and say, or the film director, and send them letters and say, I'm sure some people do, how dare you? I think that you have to try and push boundaries, and you have to try and make stuff that isn't safe, because therein lies stuff that's why Derren's career has lasted 15 years. It's not because he's funny and charming and mystifying. It's because sometimes you watch it and think, what the fuck? Yeah. Oh my God, no. Yeah. And that's hard to achieve.
It really, really is. And I want to close this out. Let's get back to your career. We were talking a little bit about ghost stories. You touched on it before, but I had it to close because it's your most recent project. So tell us a little more about ghost stories. What do you hope? Do you hope it'll go to theaters, or are you looking at it to try to get it distributed to a Netflix or to a...
No, cinema. It's absolutely cinema. It's getting. It's already sold in the UK to a very exciting distributor, and they're in Cannes at the moment. So it's sold to a number of territories already, and then, which is great. I mean, it's a proper movie, and so the joy of it is, the really exciting thing is, like the play. The play, over 500,000 people have seen it worldwide now. And you can't really find out what it's about. The secrets of it are really locked down. People keep the secrets. And that's a really exciting thing, Matt, because that's rare. That's rare when you've got a film or a play or something where you're going into it thinking, I don't know anything about this, and I've tried to find out and I can't. All I know is it's supposed to be scary, and that's something we're going to try and preserve with the film, is not have trailers that spoil absolutely everything and tell you the plot. You want to go in there and thinking, what is this?
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question for you is, what is your advice? I never let my guests escape without this question. What is your advice for anybody that wants to get into this business? I know we talked about the freelancer thing, that people that just want to do everything and just dive in. What's your advice to them?
2 pieces of advice. The first and most important one is buy my book, The Golden Rules of Acting. Now, it isn't about acting. It's about how to survive as a freelancer. It's a book that you'll be able to read in 15 minutes. If you're in New York, it's at the Drama Bookstore and lots of other bookshops, but you can get it on the usual online, Amazon and what have you. But the truthful advice, which is something that I give in the book, that I believe from the bottom of my heart, is you've just got to be happy. You've got to enjoy the ride and enjoy and embrace the ups and downs and upset and madness of it, and enjoy every minute of your life, because you've no idea what it's going to throw up and what crazy bullshit is going to knock you sideways. And as long as you can do something that means you're going to pay your bills, be that, waiting, working in a bar, whatever it happens to be, that subsidizes the passion and the thing that you love, do that and keep that dream alive and just keep doing it. That's the really interesting thing, I think, and that's my biggest advice.
All right, Mr. Andy Nyman, thank you so much for Skyping in from the UK. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much, Andy. I cannot wait for Ghost Stories to come out next year, and your little tease about Derren coming to the States has me on the edge of my seat. Everyone, please click the link in the description to visit Andy's website. You'll see more of his work and maybe even a magic trick or two. That's it for us this week. Thank you again to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Bound Network. We talked about them at the top of the show. Stay tuned to talkfor2.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for more from the #1 performing arts podcasts. Make sure to subscribe when you go to talkfor2.com and search for us in iTunes. You can subscribe there. Reach out by emailing talkfor2cast@gmail.com and talk about us on social media using hashtag #TalkFor2. Signing off for Talk for Two, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding everyone out there to keep the conversation going and keep talking for two.
You can hear more show business interviews with the stars at talkfor2.com.